Hey guys, Matt here for Superhero Week on the Real DVD Watchers. This week, for Superhero Week, I will be reviewing the 2009 film Watchmen, which I saw in theaters recently. Basically, the plot of Watchmen is superheroes used to roam free, save the day, do all cool stuff. Now they're like retired, outlawed, pretty much. The superhero program run by the government has pretty much been disbanded, and they've moved on with their lives. But someone has started killing ex-superheroes. So my boy Rorschach, who is my favorite character in this movie, tries to get to the bottom of this while involving other ex-superheroes. And this is all going on in the 80s, where there's other different underlying tones, such as Russia with nukes and stuff like that, and the dealings with that and political issues and things of that nature. A little history on me in this. I first read the graphic novel, I think back in about 2004 or 2005, and since then I've read it twice. I wanted to reread it again before watching this film, seeing as how it's been a couple of years since I've delved into it, but I just didn't get a chance to. I'm a big fan of the graphic novel. It was suggested to me by a friend, and as the hype, and you can tell with all the trailers for this, that it's donned as one of the most successful graphic novels of all time, etc., etc. And it is really good. What I liked about it were, and I'm talking about the graphic novel at this point, even though this is the movie review, I think I should address the graphic novel a little bit. I like the in-depth character development, the just overall tones of the movie, the time it was set in, how these characters come to be, and how they're developed and things like that. And it's a really good graphic novel. I suggest you guys check it out if you haven't, whether before or after the movie. Either way, I think that it's definitely a good read, and if you're into comics, you probably already know about it. It's been around for a long time, so check that out. Now, as being a fan, firstly, of the graphic novel, when this was announced, I was kind of like, okay, a bunch of people said it couldn't be done. And so when it was announced, I was a little worried on, how's it going to turn out? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to live up to the graphic novel standards? Are they going to be able to fit it all into one movie? Or are they going to have to break it up into two parts, kind of like Kill Bill or whatnot? Will they be able to fit everything that because I like the whole graphic novel as a whole, the whole book. And I know, if they adapted it to a screenplay or something like that some parts were going to have to be left out. What parts are they going to leave out, keep in, etc., etc.? Are they going to stay faithful to the graphic novel, or is it going to be some guy that's just going to go off and do his own thing? So yeah, this is directed by Zack Snyder, who did 300 and Dawn of the Dead remake, stuff like that. So yeah, let's get into the movie now. Okay, let's talk about the runtime. It is quite a long movie, but that's understandable due to the grounds that they have to cover. I enjoyed the movie as a whole, and there were only like two parts where it was kind of slow-paced and reminded you that, oh yeah, you've been sitting here for a long time. But other than that, I really didn't notice the runtime that much, and it kept me entertained and attentive the whole time dealing with the story in the movie. One of the things the movie is missing that the graphic novel had is the comic wraparound story. There's some other like minor things that were left out because obviously you can't put everything in for the movie, but pretty much it was pretty faithful to the comic book with a few changes here and there. There were some good changes and some bad changes as well. I don't want to give too many spoilers away though, so I kind of did this before, and I was just like spoiler-tastic everywhere, and I kind of don't want to do that because I want people to see this and not be spoiled. If you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest that you check it out. Character development was one of my worries for this movie because the graphic novel does a very, very good job letting you get to know these people and why they act how they do through the chapters and all of that. The movie doesn't go into as much detail on the backgrounds of the characters as the graphic novel does, but that's understandable again due to time restraints. But it does a pretty good job developing the characters and letting you know as much as you need to know to get along with the movie and understand what's going on. I went with my mom on this one because no one else could come with me when I was asking around. And she pretty much got it from just the movie. Obviously, she had never read the graphic novel. She's not into comics or anything like that. So for what they did there was pretty good. The scenes and the action sequences, you know, there's a fair amount of action sequences and stuff like that. The visuals are good. The special effects for Dr. Manhattan are good. I'm not going to get into his nakedness that's been delved into tons. It didn't bother me, whatever. But one thing that bothered me at the beginning of this especially is the slow-mo. It's like Zack Snyder, like you get a new camera and you're like trying out all the new special features and you find the slow-mo feature, so you just use it constantly because you think it's cool and new, and eventually it wears off where you're like, okay, you know, it was a cool new feature at the time, but everything doesn't need to be slow motion. So that kind of at the beginning annoyed me a bunch, the use of slow-mo constantly, when there really didn't need to be use of slow motion, and you know, that died down a little towards the middle and the end, but still it was quite annoying at the beginning part with the slow-mo. Most things people address as well as the music, how it feel, and I'm going to have to address that too. It did feel out of place and quite awkward for some of the scenes. The opening sequence, credit sequence, where they play Bob Dylan's song, "The Times Are Changing," and they kind of do like a montage of the superheroes and what they've done, and kind of like passing the time up to the 80s of where the movie takes place. That was a good music choice, and they play some really weird stuff that kind of like isn't right. It just doesn't feel right for the scenes, and so that was kind of annoying. The actors and actresses that played there were all good. You know, there's some familiar faces in there, which I won't get into because you can just look them up. But they all did They did a really good job. Night Owl 2, Silk Spectre, Rorschach, who was my favorite character from the graphic novel and in this movie. It was just awesome. Dr. Manhattan did a great job. So yeah, all that is good. It's a very entertaining movie. It was pretty faithful to the comic book, and I definitely suggest, if you're into superhero movies or you've heard Watchmen, you read Watchmen, I definitely recommend checking it out in theaters. I might go to the IMAX. It's playing in IMAX some places, so that might be cool to go to. Overall, I'm going to have to make sure, hopefully this isn't long. Overall, I give the movie an 8.5 out of 10. I will be getting it when it comes out on DVD. Like I said, there were some disappointments in there with the slow-mo and the weird music choices, but overall it was visually good. The character development was there just enough so you know what was going on with the characters. The story was great, just like as it is in the graphic novel. The ending I just love, and it was just really good movie that I enjoyed. So like I said, 8.5 out of 10. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you do. And that's been my review for Watchmen, which came out in 2009. We will see you next week, hopefully. See you then. I'll see you when I see you.
It's a matter of time, I suppose.
Died tonight. Somebody knows why. Somebody knows.
I heard he'd been working for the government. Maybe it was a political killing.
Maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes.
John thinks that there's going to be a nuclear war.
What if that's why someone wants us out of the way? So we can't do anything to stop it. An attack on one is an attack on all of us.
Watchmen are over. What do you suggest we do about it?
Retribution.
We can save this world.
Why would I save the world? I no longer have any stake in it.
Do it for me.
both will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."